Hi, welcome to Aiken This Week. I'm Glenn Parker. Our guests today are Assistant City Manager Stuart Bedenbaugh and our Human Resources Director Alicia Davis. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Glad to have you
having
guys
us today.
on the
Thank you.
show.
Awesome.
Why don't each of you just take a moment and sort of give us an overall picture of what you do for the city, how long you've been with the city, and those kind of things. Alicia, we'll start with you.
Well, I started in April of probably 9 years ago. So next year will be 10 years with the city of Aiken. I came in as a recreation program coordinator and got promoted as a human resources director. My main target, when I'm working with the employees, basically, and I call it employee relations. So I do a lot with posting jobs, making sure the handbook is, legal and correct. And also I work with our finance department on insurance and, the benefits and just basically, like I said, employee relations.
Okay. Being legal is important.
Being legal is very important.
Stuart, you're also in the city manager's office, so tell us about what you do.
Sure, I'm the assistant city manager, and I've been in the post for about 4.5 years. That job has a lot of responsibilities and duties. Of course, I work with the city manager at his discretion on projects, but also we have several divisions within the city manager's office that I supervise and make sure those operations run efficiently. Also, as the members of the public, a lot of times will be contacted by members of the public. I'll work with folks on particular issues they might have or direct them to the appropriate department.
Sure. Tell us about the city's overall structure, if you will, and sort of where the city manager's office fits into that and then where your position fits into that.
Sure, Glenn. Well, if we can go back a little ways, prior to the mid-1950s, the city has always had a mayor and a city council. But in the mid-1950s, the council and the mayor decided to create the council manager form of government. In South Carolina, cities can have one of three types of governments. There's the strong mayor form, which the city of North Augusta and city of Charleston have. There's the council form of government, and then there's the council manager form of government. City of Aiken has had this council manager form of government since the mid-50s, and 7 folks have served as city managers during that time. And that person serves as sort of if you can liken it to a private sector corporate structure, you've got your citizens or your voters, the customers, you've got your board of directors in the private sector. We'll relate that to the mayor and the council, and then the city manager who carries out the policy directives of the mayor and council and runs the day-to-day operations. Over time, as the city has grown, operations have gotten a little more complex. The assistant city manager position was created sometime in the 1970s, and those roles and responsibilities vary by the city manager. Currently, within the organization, we've got a number of other departments that if you were to look at an org chart, you would see the city manager as sort of the lead individual or employee, so to speak. And then you've got a number of departments, including human resources, finance, planning, public safety, engineering and utilities, public services, parks, recreation, and tourism. Where I fit in that role is under the city manager's office, managing several of those divisions, which currently include the Information Technologies Division, building inspections, and the city solicitor, staff attorney, and some of the city court operations, as well as we've got the risk manager and the capital project sales tax manager. So as the city has grown and the needs to provide services to our citizens have increased, the demand has increased, the roles have changed. Also, one thing I failed to mention, I'm also the airport manager, which I think we've had a city airport. A lot of people don't realize since the late 1940s, after World War II, the federal government gave the airport to the city, and that's located about 8 miles outside our corporate limits on Highway 1 near Interstate 20.
Okay. That's a lot that you're responsible for. Sort of take us through your day-to-day responsibilities of what you're doing on a daily basis.
Well, the beauty of my job is on a day-to-day basis, while I have a general idea of what I'm going to do, the beauty of it and the thing I like and find real engaging is it changes from day to day. It's not the same old, same old. So, but typically I do interact with the divisions within my departments. They are very good at keeping me informed of what's going on in terms of something unusual within their operations. One of the other things I do also is I'm the purchasing agent for the city. The city does not have a procurement department, so work a lot with that, have good support staff with city clerk and the administrative assistants that are in the city manager's office, but a lot of things, it varies. We're working on a lot of different things right now, a lot of movement with a new city manager, some goals and things he would like to accomplish, working with him on that. A lot of exciting things.
Okay. You mentioned the city manager. When he's on vacation, do you serve as that role when he's out of town?
Well, I do typically, yes. I will say I've worked under 3 city managers, and it's not a job that allows for a lot of vacation, but when that time does, when circumstances allow them to be out of town, I have, yes. And I do keep the city manager informed if they're out of town. A lot of the things, sort of general decision making, he can get briefed after the fact, but if something certainly pressing or unusual occurs, I'll notify him. But otherwise, we've got a very good staff here, from the lowest level employee to department heads, and everyone knows their job and displays very good judgment and common sense almost 100% of the time. So it's really makes the job very easy.
And I think that was serving as the assistant or serving as the city manager was more important years ago when you didn't have the technology we do today. Today, we all seem to, when we go on vacation, we don't really, because we seem to be keeping up with our emails and those kind of things when we're out of town. It's a little bit easier today, I guess.
It is. It's easier to stay in touch, whether you're at home or hours away on vacation or at a meeting. So you're right. You're never really fully off the grid, so to speak, but technology makes it a lot easier.
It does. Let's focus on one of your responsibilities, which is that of serving as the purchasing agent for the city. Take us through what that role is and describe sort of the city's purchasing process.
Sure. We have a decentralized purchasing system at this point, meaning each department up to a point has a lot of autonomy and discretion on purchasing materials, goods, and services. So if I may, I would like to kind of go through that step by step. Sure. Essentially, for your run-of-the-mill, low-cost items, your office supplies, etc., each department, of course, has the autonomy. And one thing I will say, our staff is very good about getting the best deals on things, whether it's your paper clips or large capital items. I think our staff does a very good job with that. But let's start with the goods and services that are in the $2,500 to $5,000 range. A staff member or a department head is required to get 3 oral quotes if an item, good, or service is going to cost between $2,500 and $5,000. Then they typically, almost all the time, they will purchase the lowest lowest priced item off the list or the lowest price service. Now, you may ask, well, where do they get these folks or providers from? Well, we do have a vendors list that I encourage vendors to get their name in the hat for, and you work off that vendors list. Now, obviously, occasionally there's going to be an odd good or service where we don't have vendors on the list, so then they have to do a little extra research. But your comment a moment ago about technology and everything, with the internet, it's a lot easier to find that back in the web days or online days. But that's the 3 oral quotes for goods or services, or between $2,500 and $5,000. Now, one thing that changed in February of 2014, we've adjusted some of our dollar ranges for bids now. Now, if a good, service, or item is between $5,000 and $25,000, you can get 3 written bids from vendors off our vendor list, and then again purchase the best item or lowest cost item that way, but it has to be in writing, unlike an oral bid. The other thing, the one exception to that, is a professional service. Now, what is a professional service? Viewers might be asking. What that is typically your licensed professionals, whether it's an engineer, an architect, construction manager, etc., something that requires some sort of licensure by a state organization or some nationally accrediting body. Those, anything $10,000 or less, we can reach out to a vendor that directly to provide that service. Say we need some engineering advice that we don't have the capacity in-house for. We can reach out to a vendor. If it's over $10,000 for a professional service only, we have to issue requests for either qualifications or proposals. And with that process, we typically solicit written proposals or statements of qualification from vendors, and they will then submit those in writing by a specified deadline. We review, interview the best applicants, and then negotiate a contract with them for that professional service. So for professional services, that's a little nuance that's different if you're buying actual material item. Now, for the run-of-the-mill material items that are $25,000 and greater, you have to go through a sealed bid process. Or you can purchase it off of state of South Carolina contract. Typically, we have found that the state contract, while those prices are bid competitively at the state level, we have found that by bidding out locally, using our procurement sealed bid process, we can get a lot of products at a price cheaper than state contract, which helps the taxpayer as well as our budget. We try to be good stewards of city tax money. But the sealed bid process, again, whether it's for mailing of water bills to purchasing or having a project to install a water line, that's worked very well over the years. We typically solicit these sealed bids. We notify in writing via the U.S. mail of bid opportunities to vendors on the bid list for that given project. Let's say we're doing a water line. We will look on our vendor list to see who is signed up to install water lines. We'll send them through the U.S. mail a paper copy of the bid document. We also post the bids on our website, www.cityofaiken.sc.gov, and we also post it on South Carolina Business Opportunities, or SCIBO as it's called in the vernacular. What we do there is that tends to increase the universe of potential vendors that could participate, and that does enable us to have, I think, in a lot of cases, a good competitive bids, which in the end benefits the city and the taxpayers.
One of the things when we look at bids, a lot of the times, everyone thinks the city's required to take the lowest bid. That's not necessarily the case. We're required to take the lowest responsible bid. Tell us how you differentiate.
Well, Glenn, that's a very good point, because I have I've been doing this for 4.5 years, and you're right, occasionally, most of the time, the lowest monetary bid is also the lowest responsible bid, but there have been occasions where we have not gone with the lowest monetary bid, and there are several reasons. We've got in our city procurement ordinance, we have factors we can consider in addition to price. Now again, price tends to be the predominant factor, but we do evaluate other items to determine lowest responsible bid. Those can include the capacity or skill of the vendor. For example, if a vendor bids on a project and they have to have a certain kind of license, say if we want to build a building and the lowest bidder bids on the project, but they're not licensed to do construction, well, you know, that right there, they're disqualified, so they don't meet the criteria as a responsible bidder.
Correct.
Another example is, can the vendor complete the work in the time required? Some of our projects have pretty tight deadlines, and if we say, you know, we want to put in a water line and it has to be done within 30 days, the lowest dollar bidder may say, well, I can do it, but it's going to take me 60 days because of a backlog of jobs. Well, in that case, we could go to the next vendor in case of a deadline or time constraints. Another example is past performance of other city jobs. If we've used vendors, and again, this has been extremely rare, but if a vendor's done work for us before and we've had difficulty or weren't satisfied with the finished product, we have the ability to go to the next vendor in terms of price. And of course, vendors need to be in good standing with the city in terms of being updated with having any taxes owed or fees owed, etc. Now, one thing I do want to mention, to bid on a city project, you do not have to have a business license to bid. However, if you're awarded the project, before you can commence work, you must obtain a city business license. That is a question I get on a regular basis from vendors. So if you're a vendor out there, and typically we're talking about vendors who aren't necessarily inside the city or out in the county, but say further away from the Aiken area, you can certainly bid. You do not have to get a business license ahead of time. However, again, if you're awarded the bid, you must acquire the city business license.
Okay, and you gave us the website, and the projects, the bids are typically located on the website. Folks can find those if they're looking for bids. Or SCEBA. SCEBA's more of a statewide site that people go to. Contractors and all know to go to SCEBA to look for those kind of things.
That is correct, they do. But this has worked very well. One of the things I've done since I've started is tried to gear it more to having it on the website, since we are the electronic age. I mean, the internet's been used as a tool in the business and government world now for going on 20 years, so it's a commonly accepted practice.
Sure. Just a general question, not about purchasing. If someone has a complaint, and we get those, where do they call? Who do they call?
Well, a lot of times they don't know who to call at first. So they will call the city manager's office, 642-7654. And our staff there is very good at sort of being a good traffic cop, for lack of a better word. Depending on the situation, they will know who to transfer them to. Sometimes if they don't feel like they're getting their answers satisfactorily resolved or their situation resolved, they'll send them up to me, and I try to work with them. Again, I think though our staff does a very good job at resolving problems, but if you just don't know where to turn, start at the city manager's office, 642-7654. That's, I think, a good starting point if you're unsure of who to call.
Okay, thank you. Alicia, Stuart mentioned a couple of times, we have good staff. You take all the credit for that.
Oh, I can't.
Right.
I wish I could, but I can't.
Your job in HR is to get those people to the city.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that. How does that work? How many people, start with how many employees the city has?
Well, right now, currently full-time, we have about 330 full-time and about 90 or so part-time. We typically, sometimes we will have some seasonal employees, and I'm gonna get back to that shortly, but for the most part, we normally have around 420 employees total. I said I wanted to get back to your seasonal employees, of course, because those are our temporary employees. And I wanted to mention, when we do our seasonal postings, I want to remind our college students or high school students, you know, start looking sometime in February for those job postings, because we have lifeguards and our water safety instructors and our camp counselors. So I just wanted to make sure our seasonal workers knew that and understood that. And so now, of course, after or before Labor Day, all of our seasonal workers are gone. So they're back at school.
Sure,
so.
sure. Don't wait to get out of school and then start looking for the job.
Exactly.
If someone wants to go to work for the city, tell us where they apply for a job.
Well, we have two ways people can apply. You can go on the city's website, which is www.cityofaiken.sc.gov. And on that main screen, you'll see at the very top, it says employment. And that's where everybody can see our current openings, whether it's part-time, whether it's full-time, whether it's seasonal. All those jobs are there on our city's website. Now, for people who may not have internet access, we also have it available at the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, and that's at 1571 Richland Avenue. And so at that location, they have it where they have computer access, and they have a paper application there also. Okay. So for some people who may not be computer inclined and you know, computer friendly, I guess you could say, they have the paper application available for them to apply there.
And I think they'll help you through that process out there
yes,
too.
They will. Yes, they will. That's
okay,
right.
I've applied to the city. How long is my application active?
Okay, so if you apply for a position, majority of the time, it depends on the actual position, but most of the time, our positions are open for 2 weeks, okay? And so if the position closes, that's the end of the, I guess you could say, trying to put in my application period. And that's it. It doesn't carry on if we open that position, say 2 weeks or a month from now. We don't carry your application over. You have to reapply. So your application is only, you know, active until that position is filled. And sometimes that may take a month. Sometimes it may take a few weeks. It really kind of depends on the actual position. And sometimes it depends on how many people apply for that position. We've had several positions where we have 100 or more people applying for those positions, and you have to take into account supervisors, directors going through every last one of those applications to make sure that person fits, you know, or, you know, is the best candidate for that position.
Once I've submitted my application online and I realize I left out a qualification, can I update my resume or my application?
Yes, if you did it online, you can update your application. When you actually apply online, it's going to give you a PIN number. And so you don't have to sit there and fill out that application again. You just put in your PIN number and it brings back up your application. And so you can update it then and just do it from there. Now, I know some people or several people have asked, can I download my resume with my application? We don't have that capability yet, but I do have some alternative, you know, things that people can do. They can mail it to me, to Human Resources, which is P.O. Box 1177, Aiken, South Carolina 29802, or they can email it to me directly. And that is, my email address is adavis@cityofaiken.sc.gov. So,
if you get all the applications, it's not your particular job to narrow them down. The departments are extremely involved in this process.
Yes.
And each department does it a little bit differently. How involved are the departments, and how do you work with the departments to make these selections?
I rely on the departments very heavy, and I say that because I am a department of one. So I personally can't go through each application because I don't know what the actual department is looking for, you know.
Right.
And so I rely on them to go through those applications, and then, you know, majority of the time they will give me, okay, these are our candidates. We want you to look over, and sometimes I'm available to actually interview with them.
Okay.
The departments are very involved on the selection process as far as interviews are concerned. And then sometimes we may have a few people, it's just like we just can't figure out which one. So, you know, we may have a separate interview process where it may be just the department directors and myself, or I know we've actually sent the candidates to the city manager. Okay. So like you said, it depends on the position and timing. So.
And also it depends on the position, but typically what should someone wear to an interview? You always get those questions, especially, you know, I think people my age look at it differently than someone who's in their 20s of what they should wear.
Right. The position that you're applying for, it should never determine what you should wear for an interview. You should always come to an interview professional. Whether that's ladies, a skirt and a suit coat, or a blouse, nice pair of slacks or skirt. Gentlemen, a pair of khakis, a polo shirt or a collared shirt. Long sleeve, short sleeve is fine, just as long as you are presentable and you know, neat. Never come to an interview in shorts or come with a t-shirt on. And I've had a situation where the person came in a t-shirt, but it had like a tie on the t-shirt. That doesn't count, I'm sorry.
And that also goes, you talked about seasonal employees earlier. That applies to those guys too. It's a summer job, but still you're trying to look your best.
Right, because to us, first impression is everything. And so if you come to your job interview and you have on flip-flops, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, to us, you're not taking the job serious. And and like I said, first impression is everything. And so when you come to that job, we want to know that you are about business, that, you know, no matter what the position is, you really want this job and you're showing us how professional you can be.
Exactly. Okay, you've applied, you've gone through an interview, you were selected to go through an interview. How soon will the city get back with someone?
Oh, majority of the time, if we have someone to start, you know, on that Monday, I normally send out letters that same time that person starts. So regardless, if the person received the job or if they didn't get the job, they would hear from the city of Aiken.
So don't call us 4 times a day asking, did I get the job?
Yeah, no, and I'm perfectly fine with that, but yes, we will send you out some type of notice.
Okay, we'll let you know. All right, the city, one of the beauties, I think, of working for this city is we do have a very good benefit package. What are some of the benefits the employees have?
Yes, I do agree with you on that one. Of course, we do provide all of our full-time employees with insurance. We have life insurance. We pride ourselves on being wellness friendly. We have a city nurse here, and she's not an actual city employee. She's through Aiken Regional. But we have several nurses that are there. And so, like I said, that's one of our biggest benefits as far as the city is concerned, having our city nurse, having our wellness programs. And with the wellness, you know, we have the gym reimbursements. We have the 5K or the runs that you can, you know, get reimbursed with. We also do really well with pension. For our non-sworn employees, and I say non-sworn, that's our public safety officers. They have to go through the state retirement. But for non-sworn, we have our own pension. And the great benefit about our pension is once someone is vested with the city, and vested means you have been with the city full-time for 5 years. You are vested with the city, and that money does not come out of your paycheck every pay period. And so it's fully funded by the city of Aiken. And so, you know, once you get to retirement age and have a certain amount of years, you're able to retire with full benefits.
Great, great. Well, we've only got about a minute or so left. What's your biggest challenge day to day, Stuart?
Oh goodness, I would say the myriad of situations that we deal with. Some are trying to organize and prioritize things that need to be done. We get a lot of issues that face us on a daily basis, and most or a lot of them can't be resolved in a day. So just trying to see things through from start to finish and making sure that it's organized properly.
Good. Yeah, a lot of hats in the ring going on.
Very much.
Oh, yeah.
Alicia?
It's just your internal and your external customers, making sure that internally the employees are happy and are cared for, and they have what they have. And of course, whenever I have the external customers, making sure that those applications are in and making sure that they have what they need. So it's just the juggling effect.
The juggling, yeah, great,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being on here. I appreciate it very much. You've shared some very good information with us today. Let me just remind you, in the upcoming weeks, Fire Captain Brian Brazier will be joining us. He'll be talking about Fire Prevention Week. We've also got some committee chairs coming on. McDonald Law with BZA and the Equine Committee is coming to join us also. So we'll look forward to those interviews in upcoming weeks. Thank you for joining us, and have a great week.